Well, good evening. It's August 7th on the Alan Osborne Show, and we take you back in time today, all the way to yesterday, to the Sheriff's Live Show. And let me tell you, this is a pretty interesting Sheriff's Live Show. Watch the Sheriff's gestures, watch how fidgety he is, and watch some of the looks he gets caught off guard on, and listen to his answers. This is going to be a Part 1 series on the Sheriff Live with Lies. And I'm going to break down. This will be the sheriff's last chance to talk to the public before the primary election. And I'm going to point out a pattern of behavior in this Part 1 series. Because here's the thing. A lot of us are imperfect in life. And things that we may do that, that probably wouldn't fit good in certain jobs. But when you take a job like the sheriff's, you have to be beyond reproach in your application of that authority. And we're going to show you a pattern of misbehavior. In fact, to not behave that way is required in the sheriff's job, is my point. His job makes certain behavior of his required not to happen, and one of those is get caught lying to the public. You can't lie to us. You got to be honest about what's going on, right or wrong, because when you're in command, you're not just responsible, like his PIO thinks, for all the good things that happen within your department. You're responsible for everything that occurs, both good and bad. It's the double-edged sword of the position of responsibility and authority, because to command people is a privilege that you should not abuse. And getting into all that, the sheriff says he sets the example. So we're going to go over some things here, and we're going to talk about what's the truth and what may not be quite the truth. So this is the Sheriff Live on August 6th, or 5th or 6th. Yeah, I think I got the dates right. Anyway, this is the Sheriff Live, and somebody's going to ask him about what he does at FSU. Because he's not just the sheriff. The sheriff's got other things he does. Think about this. And one of them is he teaches school. So listen.
Speaking of school, do you teach classes at FSU? If so, what kind of classes are they? Virtual? Are you ready for the fall semester?
So I don't teach every semester. I try to do that when I can. I think I think it makes me a little bit better sheriff.
I don't teach every semester, meaning, but I do teach some full semesters. I don't teach every semester. That's probably a true statement. But he just doesn't. He acts like he only does it every once in a while. And listen.
Quite frankly, because I get an opportunity to see, how other people view things, what is interesting to them, what resonates, what doesn't. I can't, obviously I don't have time to teach full time or anything like that, but I try to spend 2 hours a week every
So
few
he
months.
doesn't
I might do
have
it
time to full time teach, and he tries to spend a few hours every few weeks, maybe once a week.
or twice a year,
Once
depending
or
on the year.
twice a
But it
year,
is, I think,
depending on the year.
a value add. I think it's one of those things where it's a pain to drive at night when I do that, but it's worth it. I mean, it clears my mind a little bit. So,
Yeah.
and it's interesting because a lot of people will tell you what they think the kids think about stuff, and I say kids, these are all in their early 20s. Very interesting because they don't, I think what my perception of what they thought was acceptable or not acceptable or what they want out of their policing, it's kind of changed my mind. So I'm always kind of like when I can do that. I don't always get a chance to do it, but some years.
Okay.
But when I do, I like
So
to try to do
Mike
it.
admits that he drives there, and it says hard on him to get home late at night. But if you look when the classes are, that means he has to leave during the day. So hold on just a minute. I've got some documents here. Hold on. Okay. So Mikey says he likes to go there once a week, and then every now and then he wants to teach class. So listen. Since January of 2024, and Mikey, you call me up if these records are wrong now. Your PIO posts this, but it appears that Florida State says you've came there 90 times since January 1st of 2024. Now, you're not going there to recruit people in college. You're being paid for 2 hours as an instructor, according to them, in a class. And since 2021, all within this term, Mikey, you have gone there, according to these records, since August 9th of 2021, you have gone there to teach 390 times, or to Tallahassee for something. What were you doing there, Mikey? And if you're there for 2 hours, like it says, and it's 3 hours travel time from your house to there and 3 hours back, I don't know, Mikey, but that's 8 hours in the day. When are you being the sheriff? And don't you think your answer, we'll just go back, everybody just go back and review this and see, now you've been there 90 times is what I'm showing, Mikey, and maybe these records are not, I'm not reading them right, so you let me know how many times that you say you got paid. And then 390 times since August 9th of 2021. Maybe I need to go back farther, I'm not sure. Because remember, last time you ran, Mikey, you told us all that was your last term. When you got to 16 years, you were going to do something else. This is what I thought you were going to do, was to teach college. Anyway, if I'm wrong, Mikey, let me know, but I'm going to let everybody listen to your words again. Hang on. So here we go. I think this is what lie number 1 of this live show was, is how often does Mikey go to Tallahassee and teach school? Listen to his answers real close. Here it is without interruption.
Speaking of school, do you teach classes at FSU? If so, what kind of classes are they? Virtual? Are you ready for the fall semester?
So I don't teach every semester. I try to do that when I can. I think I think it makes me a little bit better sheriff, quite frankly, because I get an opportunity to see, how other people view things, what is interesting to them, what resonates, what doesn't. I can't, obviously I don't have time to teach full time or anything like that, but I try to spend 2 hours a week, every few months. I might do it once or twice a year, depending on the year, but it is, I think, a value add. I think it's one of those things where
I guess so, 90
it's a pain
times
to
this
drive
year.
at night when I do that, but it's worth it. I mean, it clears my mind a little bit. So,
Yeah.
and it's interesting because a lot of people will tell you what they think the kids think about stuff. And I say kids; these are all in their early 20s. Very interesting because they don't. I think what my perception of what they thought.
I bet they wonder how you got time to be
acceptable or
sheriff
not
teaching
acceptable, what they want out
college.
of their policing. It's kind of changed my mind. So I'm always kind of like when I can do that. I don't always get a chance to do it.
He
but some
doesn't
years,
always
but
get a
when I
chance,
do, I
but
like to try and
apparently
do it.
90 times this year and 300 and some times since 21. Mikey, that's pretty often. So we're going to move on to the next stretching of the truth here. Hold on, look. Mikey's already got his eyes squint. He knows this is already painful, and we're only 7.5 minutes into the show, and he's been asked a question he wasn't expecting. So hold on. Okay, we pick back up on the second topic. 29 minutes and about 30 seconds into the sheriff's show, if you're following along on YouTube. And somebody asked him about why he's taking over the fire departments. And listen very closely. You see Mikey's thinking hard right now. Listen very closely to what he says about the fire departments. And because remember, he's over all of it. And what he says about standards. And you just don't get to ignore things. Maybe like the law, Mikey, those standards. So let's hear what Mikey has to say about standards.
So next question is from James Watson. Why are you trying to take over the volunteer departments? You don't have enough staffing to staff your shifts at the fire department.
Oh, I think Ms. Watts, probably some level of confusion about that. There's 2 parts to this, and here's kind of the easy part. If we can help Liberty or Argyle be successful and meet these standards, that's what we want to do, right? And I've talked to board members of both agencies, and we've tried to talk to staff, but at the end of the day, we have obligations to the citizens we all serve, right? We're already providing medical treatment and things of that nature, but there are certain standards that have to be met, and so and I think this is kind of an unclear thing.
Okay, right out of Mike's mouth on a different issue.
Meet certain standards.
He says the reason he's taking over the volunteer fire departments is he's afraid they don't meet standards. And by gosh, he's not going to have anybody not meeting standards. I just wanted to that's what Mike's position is that you can't ignore things and standards matter. Okay, we're going to go on through. Between 30 minutes in and stuff, Mike had 2 people log on to tell him how great he was doing, and surprise, surprise, Gomer Pyle. One of them was Graham Fountain, the king, King Graham, who's managing Mikey and Aiden. And, Mike has $172,000 he's raised now from developers and stuff. And he's worried about me, and I loaned myself $100. I'm a grassroots kind of guy. Mike's sweating bullets over a guy who spent $100 so far to ask him a lot of questions. Think about that. But not only did Graham Fountain thank him from Okaloosa County, but Sheriff A.J. Smith tuned in because A.J. and Graham all got favors and worked under Mike, and he punched their tickets. Ain't that right, Mikey? So Mikey's one-stop shopping all the way. Is that Holmes or Jackson County for A.J.? And then Aiden and Graham over in Okaloosa? Isn't Graham the one with the complaint on him trying to take Aaron Murray's job? I just wanted to put that out. So anyway, we're going to skip on to another part here at 39:30 here into it. So hang on. Now we go to a new issue that's going to raise its head a couple times, and this is going to be important. Later on in part 2, I'm going to go through some things that Mike says. And here's how this is matter. There's an issue comes up, and listen to the question about, because there's so many problems with code not actually being enforced and the law being broken that everybody knows it. And so this guy throws the sheriff a hot potato, and listen to what he says real close. He is very close with Tony Corman and Matt Gainey. Well, they work for him. Well, Sheriff, later on, my complaint's going to involve Tony Corman, so I don't need you to be close to him because you said you investigate environmental crimes, and I believe Tony Corman's been an accessory to it. But I just want to get this on the record of what your relationship is and how I'm still stuck in the same circle, but we'll see here. Go ahead now.
Elizabeth Sunshine, I'm so proud of you all. You guys make us safer here in Florida, and I'm grateful for your team.
Thank you.
Joe Burton, can your organization take over code enforcement if the BCC asks you?
So, I'm always careful on answers because somebody
we don't think you're trying to take them over. We think you've refused to investigate anything that can't make it through code. So we don't have anybody to enforce the law, and that's going to become evident probably in show part 2. So go ahead, Mike. Talk to us.
About operations.
Would you even do it at all?
Should always
enforce
come
the law
down to a couple of basic questions. One, can we perform the service better? That's one. Does it provide a higher level of customer service?
Well, if they're not enforcing the law and you're supposed to be doing it, don't you think that ought to be one of the damn questions you always try to look at it?
I've always been a little reticent on code enforcement simply because, with deputies doing code enforcement specifically, because you have a badge and a gun, which changes relationships, right? Code enforcement itself, I think if we can help them, we want to support them everywhere they can. A little similar to what we were saying about the fire departments. We want code enforcement to be successful, but I am not familiar with anything about that being in discussion at all now. And I know
so he already has a good relationship with them, so he doesn't know anything that's going on. Well, you've been told about a lot of stuff, Mike, but we'll get into that later. I just wanted to clearly show you that Mike knows right who's in charge of this stuff if they're not doing it. And if people have been breaking the law and been helping them with it, Mike, you have a relationship with these people, and you're going to have to bring an investigator in who doesn't. And some of my complaint, Mike, it will not fall within the jurisdiction of the DEP. They only control the first inch of water. So when we have direct piping beyond 1 inch, you're going to have to do an investigation, Mike. And we're going to need an investigator. So hold on here. We're going to go to the next lie. Well, I don't know if that one was a lie. To be all fairness, it just shows Mike's relationship, and he of what code and who's in charge of code, really. Okay, now we pick up about 47 minutes and 29 seconds into it, and Larry from Mossy Head calls in, because let me give you the backstory on this. Larry from Mossy Head was working on Brad Drake's campaign, and Brad Drake was at the farmers thing when the Mossy Head Forum was going on, and it was being circulated around the room as a joke by the sheriff's group that Brad wasn't there because him and Larry were out drinking, when actually Larry was in the parking lot, but there was no parking, and he had a 5-year-old with him, and so he just moved on and went to the farm thing at the fairgrounds, and so, or went to take his kid to eat. So Larry was there and came through there, and I saw him, and there was video proof of it. But instead, the people who supported Mike were out spreading lies. So Larry calls in and asks old Mikey about it. Listen to what Mikey says.
Larry Wayne.
Now look at Mike's face. He's reading that,
why were
and
your
he
deputies
is
at Mossy
crapping
Head saying
a brick.
that I was in a
Because
bar
he
with a
knows this is
candidate
true, and
instead
he
of
was
being at
there.
the forum?
Listen to what he says. I don't know what you're talking about. Look at that look. Who believes that?
No idea what he's
I'm not
talking
sure what
Anyway.
he's talking about.
That's another lie for that.
Um,
And we're going to end this first series, I think. Yeah, we're going to end this first series of part 1 of Lies at Live with the Sheriff, or Live with the Sheriff for some lies, whatever you want to call it. We're going to see what he has to say about Nick's racist text to Tony Anderson and the county attorney. Let's see what he says about that. Come on now. 5207. All right. So I'm typing in here asking questions, and I didn't start out with the sheriff. I didn't log on till he's about 10 minutes into it, and you can tell Corey's whole voice manner has changed. She's just reading the question. She's throwing that hot potato over there. She don't want none of this attention. And I'm still waiting on old Corey's personnel file. That'll be interesting. I'm just gonna show you. Go back to what Mike says about standards, and think about it. If he's gonna tell us, is he gonna mislead us this hard? How can we ever trust him to go 16 years unaudited and stay the sheriff? This position requires complete integrity while you're in the seat. Now, what he does before and after he's the sheriff is his own moral problem. But while he's in the seat, this position requires it. So let's get on with what he gets to ask here about racist text. Now, watch how quick he says he condemns Trey's text. He says, yes, I condemn them all. All racist text.
Yeah, I didn't know that. Charlie Comer said thank you for the talking about the detention
no, I
deputy
think it's
going
fabulous.
into
Did you
that
see the
first.
frown on his face?
Peter
Let's
Dragon,
back up and look
do you
at it.
denounce Trey Nick's racist text messages?
This is Mike's
I denounce
face
any racist
when
messages,
she
period.
asked him.
Full stop.
It's
End of
52
story.
minutes and 12 seconds in. When she asked him if he denounced Trey Nick's racist text. Oh man, he is unhappy about this because, like I say, here's what his answer is one more time. I denounce him. Well, Mike, it sure took you long enough, didn't it? No, hold on the Alan Osborne show.
I denounce any.
Look,
any
you just
racist
can't
messages,
make this
period.
shit up.
Full stop.
Under part
End of story.
2, we're going to go into environmental crimes, and I asked him in part 2, is Chaz under investigation? Now, interestingly enough, at Mossy Head, Chaz was up there buddy like hell with all the sheriffs in the back of the room who just arrested him. Does that pass the smell test? And think about this, folks. Mikey's got $172,000. And wait till you see what he's unaware of the bay pollution that's coming up. You can't make this shit up. It's like I said, if this man will lie to you 2 weeks before the election, and I think we've shown you quite a bit, how can you trust him for 4 more years? 16 is enough. This family's DNA has been in charge of the sheriff's department for probably 42 of the last 50 years. And for you people that moved here, his cousin is the county attorney, who's also the same guy who's the Defuniak attorney, who's also the same guy as the Paxton attorney, as the Freeport attorney, as the TDC attorney. So basically, if there's a crime committed and I go to Clay at the county and say, hey, there's something going on, Clay's not going to investigate it. And the state attorney is not going to investigate it without Clay and Mikey saying it needs to be investigated. Do y'all get the point here? Remember, Walton is not law spelled backwards, and you need to remember that. So in the August 20th primary, it's Murray, Marano, Drake, and Curry for a change in Walton County. Let's change out the diapers because they're all full of shit. And you can't make this shit up. And I'm Alan Osborne. And that's the sheriff thinking about he's only part way through this live show. Till tomorrow, tell a friend. If you agree with me, take 10 people to the voting booth with you August 20th. See you tomorrow.